Hello, people. Good morning. Everybody is doing great. I see a lot of people today. Right. So we were about to discuss your part test 4, right? Yes, no? Did you write part test 4?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So let me share my screen. Oh, wait, I have to make host. I have to be made host. I have to call people. Okay, they came. Right. Okay, I am the host. Where is OneNote? One. Here. Okay, so let me just download the question paper for you. Second. Where is that? Where is that? Yeah, I think this contains all the 6 chapters, I guess. Right? Okay, fine. So I think this question should be easy. What defect is shown by AGPR? Quick. What is it?
Both Frenkel and Schottky.
Absolutely. Right? Both Frenkel as well as Schottky. Right? You see, people, you have to know the examples. Definitely question will come. Right? You have to know the examples of compound showing Frenkel defect and Schottky defect. You see how many questions are repeating in all the tests you're writing. Right? Okay. Next, moving on. The following graph shows what? Now you see there is vapor pressure.
Elevation and boiling.
Exactly. Now you see this is the solvent. Solvent means pure. Solvent means only that compound is there. Okay. Now when I make a solution, what is happening? Now you see that the boiling point, right? This is the boiling point when I have the solvent. This is the boiling point when I have a solution. You see that the boiling point is increasing. Okay. So obviously it is going to be elevation in boiling point. That is the graph given to us, right? If this solution was somewhere here, then it will become depression in freezing point. Right? If this was lesser than the solvent temperature, that is your freezing point, that becomes depression and freezing point. But in this case, it is increasing. So yeah, it is elevation and boiling point. Okay. This question, which of the following is used as an anti-chlor? Anybody has any idea what is the answer? Is it MnO2?
Don't know, sir.
You don't know? Okay, let us Google it. Even I don't know. See, these kind of questions, you cannot do anything about it rather than to just mug it up. Anti-chlor is what? What is it? Anti-chlor is hypochlorite, bleaching, sulfur dioxide. Sodium thiosulfate pentahydrate. There is no option like that here. Okay, fine. People Google this. Okay, what is an antichlor? They form something. Not sure. Right? Just look into this. Okay, fine. Next, hydrocarbons having double the number of carbon atoms present in the original alkyl halide. The moment you see this, double the number of carbon atoms, what is the answer?
Woods.
Right? Now see, they're specifically telling alkyl halide. If this was aryl halide, what would have been an answer?
Phytic, sir.
Exactly, right? So if it was aryl halide, you know it is phytic. If it is alkyl halide, it becomes, I hope you all know the reaction. Na in the presence of ether, you will form R. This is my Woods reaction. Right? So the correct answer to this question is option D, Woods reaction. Okay, next. Iodoform test. Did you study iodoform test in alcohol ethers phenols, people? Did you study iodoform test? Did you study iodoform test in alcohol ethers phenols chapter? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Fine. Okay, now look at this question. 1 mole of an organic compound A. Okay, A is there, which is having a formula of C3H8O, completely reacts with 2 moles of HI to form X and Y. Now, the moment you see HI, right? The moment you see HI and it is forming 2 compounds X and Y, definitely I would have decided that this is an ether, right? Why? Because this, for example, if I had say CH3O, C2H5, CH2CH3, right? Now, when I go for HI, completely dissociating, right? If I put 1 mole of HI, people, can I say I will form CH3I plus C2H5OH? Which bond I am breaking? I am breaking this bond. I'm adding I here and H here, right? Now you have to understand that in this case, the I minus will attack the smaller alkyl group, right? The I minus will attack the smaller alkyl group, that is in this case is CH3, right? So I minus will attack the smaller alkyl group because of steric reasons, obviously, because it is less crowded, so it is easy, right? So you will form CH3I plus C2H5OH. Now, if I had 1 more mole of HI, nothing will happen to this, right? But this C2H5OH will convert into C2H5I, nucleophilic substitution, right? Or I can even write HI excess. If I write, again, you will see that this and this is this, and this would have been the product. If I write HI excess, or even if I write HI 2 moles. But if I give you just 1 mole of HI, this 2 would have been the answer. That is CH3I plus C2H5OH. Okay, right. So fine. When Y is boiled with aqueous alkali, it forms Z. Okay. When I do it with aqueous alkali, it forms Z, and Z answers the iodoform test. Okay. Now I don't understand. I mean, I don't think so. You know what is iodoform test? You will study them in carboxylic acid. That is the next chapter. But let me give this to you here. Okay, iodoform reaction or iodoform test. Right now, please understand, people. This will be given by compounds which are having alpha methyl groups. Okay, this compound, this test is for checking whether that particular, it can be given by alcohols, it can be given by aldehydes, it can be given by ketones. Okay, iodoform test, 3 things. It can be given by alcohols, ketones, and aldehydes. Okay, now if you ask me, sir, what is the reagent used? Right, the reagent used is so this thing NaOH in the presence of I2. Okay, NaOH plus I2. Right, and I know this is going to form NaOI. This is my sodium hypohalide, hypoiodide in this case. Okay, NaOH plus I2. I think you studied this reaction also. NaOH plus Cl2, dilute, concentrated. You know what are you going to form, right? P block. right? So in this case, you see that sodium hypoiodide NaOI is formed. Obviously, NaI is also formed, no doubt about it. Okay, so this NaOI, okay, this is a mild oxidizing agent. Okay, this NaOI is a mild oxidizing agent. Okay, so what is going to happen is, now I told you that this the compound which can give a positive test for iodoform is when I have an alpha methyl group. And that means in the alpha position, I should have a CH3, right? Say, look at this, people. Now, if I have, say, for example, CH3CH2OH, for example, this is what I have. That is exactly what I have in C2H5OH also. Okay, fine. Anyways, now C2H5OH or CH3CH2OH, this is my carbon containing the functional group. This is my alpha carbon, right? This is my alpha carbon. Okay, now what do you see here in alpha position? I have a complete CH3 present. Alpha methyl group is present. Now I can also have compounds like this. This is a ketone. This is the carbon containing the functional group. This is alpha position. This is alpha position. And both the cases, you see that I'm going to have an alpha methyl group, right? So both of them will answer your iodoform test. But if I give you a compound like this, CH3, CH2, CH2, OH, propanol, basically, right? You see that this is the alpha position and I do not have a CH3. I have only CH2. I should have a CH3. Alpha methyl group must be present for iodoform. Okay, right. Now, when I do it, what happens? How do I confirm that I have an alpha methyl group present? Now, if I go for NaOI, I can also write this as NaOH plus I2, whatever it is. Okay, so what you understand is this particular carbon, which is the alpha methyl group, will form CHI3. I know CHI3 is iodoform. Okay, now this will be yellow in color. Okay, this will be yellow in color, and the remaining part will get oxidized to acid. Now you see that there's only one carbon atom. Acid means HCOO minus or HCOOH. However you want to write it. Okay, so the alpha methyl group will form the iodoform, which is yellow in color. That confirms when you form the yellow color, that means there was an alpha methyl group. Okay, and the remaining part is going to form the acid. Okay, now the same thing can happen with this also. Say if I put NaOI, either one of the methyl group, let's say either this one, say this one will form the CHI3, and the other part, the remaining part, will form, now I have how many carbon atoms? 2 carbon atoms, so you'll form CH3COO minus. Okay, alpha methyl group will form the iodoform, that is yellow in color, and whatever is remaining, just convert them into acid. Okay, whatever is remaining, just convert them into acids. You will again study this in your next chapter, aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acids. Okay, now that you understood what is iodoform, we will go back to the question. When Y is boiled with aqueous alkali, okay, now you understand that the product, this, if I write the reaction properly, okay, so basically I would have had CH3I plus C2H5I. If I put HI excess, is it not? That is what we saw. Okay, now what am I doing? Say anything is X or Y. This is X and Y, whatever it is. Okay, right. Now, if I take Y and boil it in aqueous alkali, aqueous alkali means aqueous KOH or aqueous NaOH, whatever it is we have. Okay, now say for example, if I take Y, if I add aqueous KOH to this, what will happen? It is going to form CH3, CH2, OH. Right, now that is Z, right? That is Z. And this is A. Okay, A with HI excess forms X and Y, and X on boiling with aqueous KOH is forming ethanol, that is Z. And this will give a positive test for iodoform. Just now we saw. Example is right here. Where is it? Yeah, CH3CH2OH on NaOI gives me CHI3 plus HCOO minus. That is what will happen in this reaction. Okay, right. So what are they asking in this question? They're asking compound A is very simple. I should have 3 carbon atoms only. If it is ethoxyethane, if I take this one, this has 4 carbon atoms, so gone. Definitely A should have been an ether. So the correct answer is option A, methoxyethane. Methoxyethane. I hope everybody is following. Right. Okay. Next question is very easy. What is the answer? Amina asked the components of. Go on. What is it?
Proteins.
Proteins. Done. Next question. Silicon carbide. Why are they even asking? Oh, this is solid state. Okay. Fine. Right. So silicon carbide is an example of
Network solid.
Covalent solid or network solid. Both are same. Okay. Covalent solids are network solids. Covalent solids are network solids. So correct answer is C, network solid. Okay, fine. Next question. On dissolving sugar in water at room temperature, solution feels cool to touch. Under which following cases dissolution of sugar will be most rapid? Okay, so we understand that when you could have done this experiment. Okay, so you will take a test tube of, or say a tumbler of water. You add sugar to that. You will feel that the sugar solution will be cool to touch. Okay, why that happens? We'll try to understand. But they're asking under which conditions, under which following conditions the dissolution of sugar will be most rapid. Okay, powdered sugar in cold water, sugar crystals in hot water, sugar crystals in cold water, powdered sugar in hot water. What is the answer?
D, sir.
D.
Powdered sugar in hot water, sir.
Yes, powdered sugar in hot water. Why is it like this, people? Now, please understand the solubility is directly proportional to temperature, in the sense that you know what is supersaturated solution. I have a saturated solution, there no more solute can be added, but if I slightly increase the temperature, now more solute can be added. So what do you understand? Solubility, the amount of solute getting dissolved in the solvent is directly proportional to the temperature. And one more thing is, now already the sugar is in powdered form, very, very small particles. There is no energy required to break these sugars into smaller particles. Already they are very small, right? So powdered sugar in hot water will be maximum, will have maximum solubility. Hope you're all able to get it. Okay, right? So the correct answer would be option D. Powdered sugar in hot water, because the temperature is high. Powdered sugar will be better because I don't have to go on breaking it. It's already broken. Okay, right? Normal, easy question. Right, next. When sugar is treated with concentrated sulfuric acid, the sugar is charred, and this process is
Dehydrated, sir.
Absolutely. I know concentrated sulfuric acid is a dehydrating agent. In organic chemistry, you would have seen, right? Concentrated sulfuric acid is a dehydrating agent. So when you add sugar, when you add sulfuric acid to sugar, obviously the sugar is charred. That means it is dehydrated. Okay, fine. Next question. In which of the following compound carbon atom marked with an asterisk is asymmetric? Very simple. All you have to look for is carbon atom attached to 4 different groups. H, Cl, Br, I. Direct answer. Now you see the other ones.
These are not the final options, sir. It's A, B, C, D.
Final options. Okay, fine. So again, you see deuterium, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Again, okay. Then CH3, C2H5, OH, H. Okay. Then CH3, C2H5, H and H. No. 2 things same. So the answer would be A, B, and C. That's it. Very simple. Okay. Now this is out of question. Okay, I don't know. Like I checked. I didn't check. They didn't send me the question paper. This is out of question, right? Carbon tetrachloride. How is it used? Not is out of question. Don't worry about it. Okay. Reducing sugars are, what are those?
B, sir. All of these.
Monos.
All are reducing sugars are all monosaccharides? Not necessarily. Maltose.
Sir, all monosaccharides are reducing sugars.
Yes, sir, all monosaccharides are reducing.
Okay. Fine. Now we consider it like that. Okay. All monosaccharides are reducing sugars. Fine. Right. Okay. And these are tolerance reagent, Fehling solution. Yes, all of these is the answer to this question. Okay, but I cannot just tell that all monosaccharides are only reducing sugars. I have some disaccharides like maltose, lactose. Sucrose doesn't give. Sucrose is a non-reducing sugar, but if you have disaccharides like maltose, lactose, okay, all these are reducing sugars. Galactose, all these are reducing sugars. Okay, anyways, fine. Next, the radius of an ion in a body-centered cubic. I know what is the relationship for body-centered.
Root 3 by 4 is.
R is equal to root 3 by 4a. If it was FCC, what would have happened?
A by 2 root 2,
A
sir.
by 2.
A by 2 root 2. Absolutely. Right. So the answer is option A. Good. Which of the following shows a negative deviation from Raoult's law? Guys, you have to remember the examples: negative deviation, maximum boiling azeotropes, minimum boiling azeotropes. The examples are very, 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 very important. At least one question like this you will get. Okay, I don't have to remember. What is the answer?
Acetone and chloroform.
Okay, everybody agrees with it. Acetone and chloroform, because I don't remember any of these. Is it
Yes,
correct?
I think.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, acetone and chloroform. I don't have to remember because I'm not going to write the exam. You are going to write the exam. Okay, fine. Next, when a colorless gas is passed through bromine water, it decolorizes. The gas is what?
SO2, sir.
First, what is bromine water? Bromine water is nothing but Br2 in the presence of H2O. This will be brown in color. Okay, now this is becoming colorless. What can do that?
SO2, sir.
SO2, definitely. Right? Why? Because if I put SO2 in the presence of bromine water, which is brown in color, right? Now SO2, bromine water is a slight oxidizing agent. Okay, so this will form SO3. Okay, and I think Br will get reduced to Br minus. Okay, so obviously this is going to become colorless. Okay, so the correct answer would be SO2. Okay, fine. Next, para-dichlorobenzene has dash and dash than those of ortho and meta isomers.
High melting point and lower solubility.
Low solubility.
Okay, correct, right? It is high melting point and lower solubility. I think everybody can understand why, right? So because in case of para, they're symmetric, right? Para-dichlorobenzene is like this. One Cl here, another Cl here. Now it is highly symmetric, right? Okay, so definitely you understand that there is going to be more boiling point because it is symmetric. Okay, and what about solubility? How do you decide solubility? Is based on the dipole moment. More polarity. Understand? Polarity is directly proportional to solubility in water. Because we know the mantra. The mantra is like dissolves like. Polar substances will get dissolved in polar solvent. Non-polar and non-polar solvents. Right? Now you see that the dipole moment will be towards this chlorine. The dipole moment will be towards this chlorine. So eventually the mu is 0. It is not a polar compound at all. Right? But if you check for ortho or meta, there will be some residual. This thing say this is ortho. Both are pointing upwards. I'm talking about the residual things. Hope you know how to resolve a vector. Now, if I check for a meta, right? Again, you will see one of the component is up. This component is definitely up. So there'll be net dipole moment. So for both of these, mu is not equal to 0. That means they are polar. Mu is dipole moment. Okay, mu is dipole moment. Okay, when dipole moment is 0, that means they're going to have less solubility. Why? Because they are less polar. Water is a polar solvent, but these two are considerably polar because their dipole moment is not equal to 0. There is some residual dipole moment. Okay, so definitely they are going to have higher boiling point, higher melting point or boiling point, as well as lower solubility than ortho and meta isomers. Okay, fine. Anisole is called what?
Methyl benzene, sir. Sir, methoxybenzene, sir. Methoxybenzene, sir.
Methoxybenzene. Now, people, the common names are very important. Now, my diagram and my story. Okay. Okay. So this OCH3, if you have, it is called anisole. And if I have CH3, this is called as what? This compound?
Toluene, sir.
Toluene. Okay. So anyways, the correct answer to this question is methoxybenzene. Right? Option B. Okay. Thyroxine hormone? Really? Okay. Which amino acid produces thyroxine hormone? I have really no clue. You also don't have to study this. Do not worry about these kind of questions. Okay. They cannot be asked like this. Okay. Anyways, Can someone Google and tell me what this is producing? Thyroxine.
Option D, I think, sir, because the
It
name.
should be tyrosine, right, sir?
Tyrosine. Okay, looks similar, like thyroxine, tyrosine. Okay, right. Fine. These kind of questions you have to mug up, people. That's why I'm not going into this. Okay. Lattice site in a pure crystal. Please be very careful. Right. A lattice site in pure crystal cannot be occupied by
Electrons.
Exactly. Right. Now remember, lattice site can be occupied by an molecule or an atom, doesn't matter. But electron, no. Lattice cannot be occupied by electron because electrons are very small. Okay. Right. Cool. Now, which of the following would have the highest osmotic pressure? Now, please understand, pi is directly proportional to m, or you can write C. Pi is equal to CRT. Right. So more and more concentration, more and more osmotic pressure. Right. Now, tell me. Oh, no. No. That is not the only criteria, people. Right. Now, we know if I include the Van 't Hoff factor, pi will become I into C into R into T. So, pi is directly proportional to I. Oh, my charging is less. Just give me a moment, people. Okay. So, pi is directly proportional to the Van 't Hoff factor, and also pi is directly proportional to concentration, that is molarity. Okay. Now, when and all I will come into the picture, Van 't Hoff factor, only if you have what? Dissociation or association, right? Dissociation or association for that matter, right? And for dissociation, I will be greater than 1, I will be greater than 1, and for association, I will be less than 1. Okay, right. Now you see that here I have BaCl2. So it will form Ba2 plus 2Cl minus, and NaCl will form Na plus Cl minus. Okay. Now here you see there are only 2 ions, but here in this case you see what? 3 ions. Other things doesn't even go. Like all are M by 10 people, all concentrations are same. What do you mean by M by 10? What do you mean by this? If I write M by 10 glucose or M by 10 BaCl2, what is the molarity I'm talking about? Okay, please understand it is nothing but 1 by 10 M. That's what it means. 1 by 10 M means 0.1 M. Please remember this. Okay, M by 10 means what? 1 by 10 M, which is nothing but 0.1 M. The molarity is nothing but 0.1. All are 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Okay, so this criteria is not going to come into the picture. That is, all the concentrations are same. All we have to look for is which is having maximum I. Maximum I will come when I have maximum number of ions produced. BaCl3 is producing 3 ions, but NaCl is producing only 2 ions. So definitely the I for BaCl2 will be close to 3, approximately 3. But for NaCl, the I will be approximately 2. Right? So definitely more I means more osmotic pressure. The correct answer is M by 10 BaCl2. I hope everybody gets this. Easy, very easy.
So
all you have to
Van 't Hoff factor isn't there in our syllabus.
Van 't Hoff factor is there in your syllabus, right? Is it there? I don't know.
I think it's deleted, sir.
It's deleted.
Okay. Fine. But Van 't Hoff factor, I thought when I taught you solutions, I taught you Van 't Hoff factor, isn't it?
Yes, sir. You taught us Van 't Hoff factor.
But that was not there in the syllabus.
So later on, it was told.
Can we later on it was deleted. Molar mass is inversely proportional. Can we go in that way?
Sorry, molar mass?
Sir, this question, can we say that osmotic pressure is inversely proportional to the molar mass, like that, like molarity?
I understand why are you asking this, because any colligative property will be inversely proportional to the molecular mass of the compound. Definitely, right? This you can tell for sure. So whichever is having the least molecular mass will have the least colligative property, the least amount of the colligative property. Whichever is having the least molecular mass will have the highest this thing. But if you take that into the picture, I don't think it will work. You check, no? You just check the molecular masses. I think BA will have, definitely more than NaCl. Okay, definitely more than NaCl. So you have a lesser osmotic pressure, but no, the answer is BaCl2. So I don't think this will work. right? But yeah, theoretically, yes, from the formulas we can see like that, but no. Okay. Then Vanta factor, if it's not there, then well and good, right? Anyways, you know how to answer these questions also. Okay, because I have taught you, but anyways, if there's not there, you don't have to worry about it. They are not going to ask the question. Okay, fine. In a qualitative analysis of H2O, okay, now in a qualitative analysis, when H2S gas is passed through an aqueous solution of a salt acidified with dilute HCl, a black precipitate is obtained. Okay, on boiling the precipitate with HNO3, it forms a solution of blue color. Addition of excess of solution of ammonia gives dash. Okay, this is, I think, the formation of this complex. H2S passed through an acidified salt solution with HCl, a black precipitate. Okay, I understand what you're asking. Yes. So remember, the black precipitate is Cu2S. Okay. I know copper sulfide is this thing. What is that? A black precipitate. Okay. On boiling the precipitate with HNO3, boiling it, it forms a solution of deep blue color. Okay. Addition of excess of aqueous solution of ammonia to the solution gives, okay, deep blue solution, deep blue precipitate. Okay, what answer is given to the question, people? What answer is given in your answers, like your answer piece? No answer key is given to you yet?
Yes, sir. No answer.
No answer key is given. If I have excess of ammonia, let me try to write this. Okay. Say, if I boil this with Cu2S, I think I am going to form this particular compound, CuOH twice dot CuNO3 twice. Okay. Now, if I add excess ammonia to this, so I am just going for my predictions, okay? Hopefully, if I go for excess ammonia, I think the answer should be A, right? Because this is going to form a complex. I'm having NH3 and all these copper salts are present, double salt, right? So most probably the answer would be deep blue color solution of CuNH3, NH3 4 times 2 plus. Okay, now this is not even in blue color. Okay, CuOH twice is not in blue color. CuNO3 twice is also not in blue color, right? And this I know is formed before adding ammonia, right? Before adding NH3. This is what I have. You can see here, right? CuNO3 dot CuOH twice. That is just by adding, that was just by heating Cu2S with HNO3. Okay. Right. So the most probable answer would be deep blue solution, right? You can neglect the options and get the correct answer. So answer is A for sure. Okay. All right. Next, arrange the following organic compounds in the order of the reactivity towards SN1. The moment you see SN1, we have to go for stability of carbocation, C+, right? Whichever is more stable carbocation, that will form, that will be the most reactive. Okay, so they have given C6H5CH2Br, C6H5CH, C6H5Br, this one and this one. Let me write the compounds. Okay, so C6H5CH2Br, this is first one. Okay, then C6H5CH, C6H5Br, that is right. C6H5 is one benzene ring, and there is a CH with another benzene ring. And how many bonds are over? 1, 2, 3. So here I have a Br. Okay, here in this I have a Br. Okay, next C6H5CH, CH3Br. Okay, C6H5CH, CH3, and one Br here. Okay. What is the next one? C6H5, C, CH3, C6H5Br. Okay. Okay, let me write this here for my convenience. C, CH3, CH3, Br, right? 2 CH3s I have, correct? Yeah, no. Last one is C, CH3, C6H5. Okay, this is also C6H5. Okay, if I can write this properly. Okay, so I have a carbon which is attached to another benzene ring. Okay, that is attached to one methyl group, and I have a Br. Okay, so these are all the 4 compounds I have with me. Okay, as I told you, the moment you see SN1 reaction, all you have to look for is the stability of the carbocation. So what I'll do is I'll remove Br from all of them. Right, if I remove Br from all of them, obviously I have to put a positive charge on the carbon which lost the Br. Okay, here I had a carbon with a positive charge, positive charge, positive charge. Okay, right. Now people, please understand, for you to ascertain stabilities, okay, you have to use 2 effects. One is inductive effect, right? The other one is resonance, right? And if I have resonance, resonance has more priority. That means stability given by resonance is more when compared to stability given by inductive effect. Okay, fine. Now, if I can just rewrite this rounds, which I wrote as in the form of pi bonds. Right? No. Okay. Okay. This is what I have. Right. Now, people, you see that this carbocation I have is resonance stabilized. You see that the pi bond can involve in conjugation. All these things can happen. Right. I think here I have one more phenyl group. Then let me write that. Okay. Right. Now you see that there is only one side resonance. Here I can have 2 resonance. Both the side resonance can happen. Right. So definitely when I compare this and this is more stable. Okay. Because I have more resonance, here I have less resonance. Okay. Now you check this one. Okay. Now you check this one. I have resonance happening, and definitely you have a methyl group which will give me plus I effect. That is electron donating group, EDG. EDG is an electron donating group which will decrease the negative charge, more stability. More towards neutrality, more stability. Okay. Now here you see, I can have resonance, no doubt about it. And there is an electron donating group also, right? So among this, if I have to give the maximum stable, I think I will give the maximum stable first rank to this. Why? Because there are both side resonance happening and there is an electron donating group. All things are there, right? Now I would give the second rank to this compound because you have both side resonance. No problem. And there, in this case, extra, I have an electron donating group, which is not there here. So second rank goes to this. Okay. Now, if I look at the first one and the third one, here I have only resonance, only one side resonance. Here I have resonance as well as an electron donating group. So the third point or third rank goes to this compound, and the last rank goes to this compound. Anybody has any questions here? Anybody wants to ask me anything? Please go on if you don't understand. Is everybody okay? How am I getting all this? Okay, I hope you're following. Right? If you're not following, please ask me. I will help you. Right? So the fourth one should come next. CH3, C6H5. Okay. CH3, C6H5. Okay. No, this is wrong. Okay. CH3, C6H5. Okay. C3H5. Where are these compounds coming from? I don't know. This is C6H5. This is a printing mistake, right? This is C6H5, CH3. No. Okay. C6H5, CCH3, C6H5. Okay. C6H5 again. This is C6H5. Lot of printing mistakes. C6H5, CH, C6H5. Yeah, this is the correct answer. Okay, right? This has two phenyl rings on one methyl group. This has two phenyl rings. This has only one. Both of them has only one phenyl ring, but this here I have an extra electron donating group. This is wrong. This should come before this. The correct answer is option B. I'm sorry. Okay, the correct answer is option B. Right? Okay. Moving on. Aldehydes are reduced to corresponding alcohols in the addition of hydrogen in the presence of catalyst to form what? Aldehydes.
Primary alcohols.
That's it. Any aldehyde, whatever be the reducing agent, you will form primary alcohol. Whatever be it, RCHO will form RCH2OH. Very simple. So primary alcohols is the correct answer. Okay, which of the following is a fibrous protein? Please mark up. Okay, know this, right? Okay, moving on. This is what I have. What is the formula? Here I have H3PO2. Correct? 3H, 1P, and 2 O2s. What is the name of the acid? Phosphorus acid. Okay, H3PO2 is phosphorus. H3PO3. This is H3PO3 is phosphorus. Hypo is H3. Oh, I'm sorry. H3PO4. I am so sorry. Wait. Phosphoric acid is H3PO4. Phosphorus acid is H3PO2. Hypophosphorus acid is H3PO2. Okay, I'm so sorry. This is H3PO2. So the correct answer would be hypophosphorus acid.
Sir, but then this is in delicate person.
This is a little delicate.
Yes, phosphorus is completely delicate.
Yes, it's not there in P block for us.
It's not there, sir.
I don't understand what you're telling. What?
The phosphorus, the topic in P block is deleted.
Oh, P block is deleted. Very good. Fine. Great.
Sir, in section 1 itself, we have some 5 to 6 questions which are from removed portions, sir. Then out of 25, we'll have only 20 questions to answer.
No problem, Kanna. See, the thing is, for whichever is there in the syllabus, you get it, you answer it. Board exams will be taken care. When you write the board exams, all you have to do is in that portion whether you know everything or not. Okay. See, Epsilon Academy is trying their level best to make you accustomed with these kind of MCQs. That is what they're doing. Okay. In that process, definitely, if it's an entirely new thing for you, it is an entirely new thing for every academy which is there in the country. Not in the country, at least in the state. Right? So they will have their own shortcomings. Take the good out of it. Okay, you understand that all the other questions are helping you. How many part tests you are writing? Remember this: the number of tests you write before the board exam is directly proportional to the marks which you will get in the board exam. Directly related. More tests, more marks. Okay, fine. Moving on.
Sir, and from solutions also, like, can I ask some questions, sir, from numericals? Because last time also we didn't get any numericals from solutions, sir.
Okay.
This time also there are no numericals from solution, I think.
No, why they are not giving you numericals, you understand, because they are there. You already have what, 55 questions or 45 questions, whatever it is, and you have to solve that in 1.5 hours, 90 minutes, right? So definitely, I don't think you will get problems also. Even if you get problems, okay, even if you get problems, they will not ask you to calculate the final answer, right? They will be like this. Say, for example, I want to know what is PA naught. PA naught is 2 into 5.5 in divided by some 3.3 into something like this. They will be options. A is this, B is some other 5 into 3 into something they will have. So like this, they'll ask you to, they'll ask you to do it, right? Because calculation will itself take a lot of time. Okay. That is the reason why they are not going for, any numericals, right? Even if you get, it will be like this only. You don't have to calculate. You just have to substitute the values and show them, okay, this is how the answer will look like. Do you understand? It was Mithun, right? Mithun, is it fine? Okay, right, fine. Which of the following is true regarding the refractive index of quartz glass? Quartz is an amorphous compound. What is the answer then? If it is an amorphous compound, I know it is isotropic. What is isotropic, people?
The properties are same in all directions.
Properties are same in all directions. Okay, properties are same in all directions. So the answer to this question is same in all directions. But if it was an say ionic compound, say a crystalline compound, then it would have been different in different directions. But since it is amorphous quartz glass, it is going to be isotropic. Okay, next. Which of the following units is useful in relating the concentration of a vapor, concentration of solution with its vapor pressure? What are we doing? Which concentration term are we using with respect to vapor pressure? Raoult's law.
Mole fraction, sir. Mole fraction.
Raoult's law. We know it is PA naught is equal to PA into XA. This is vapor pressure. This is mole fraction. Right? So definitely the answer to this question is A, mole fraction. Okay. I think next is easy question. D-ribose, 2-deoxy D-ribose are
Pentose sugar, sir.
Pentose sugar. These are 5-membered rings, people. These are 5-membered rings. Both deoxyribose as well as ribose, both of them are 5-membered rings. They are not hexose sugars, they are pentose sugars. But your glucose and fructose, they are 6-membered rings, so they are hexose sugars. Okay, right. Next, a radioactive element which can give rise to 2 noble gases. Okay, you have to remember the atomic numbers and all that. You really don't have to worry about this question. Okay, radioactive decay will come under chemical kinetics, but that I don't think that is there in syllabus also for you. Okay, don't worry about this question. Right, next. Spelling mistake, it's CH2. Okay, the correct thing should be CH2 double bond CH. Oh God, I don't know who is preparing the question paper. Plus HI.
The compound is given wrong.
Sorry?
The compound is wrong, right?
Yeah, it is. There's a double bond, right? So there should be CH2 double bond CH CH3. They have given CH3 CH2. The question is correct only, but there's a printing mistake. That's it. Okay. So CH double bond CH CH3. I will give you this particular compound and this particular compound. Now this is an addition reaction, people. So Markovnikov's rule. What is the final product? Which is the major one? This one. Right, the iodine has to go to the carbon atom which is more substituted carbon. In this case is this carbon. That is why you see that CHI-CH3 is a major product. Okay, now okay, the answer is right there. I've given you the answer. The reaction is my Markovnikov's reaction. Fine, okay. The most probable answer in this case is Markovnikov's reaction because it is addition reaction. Okay, fine. Now, what is, if you ask me, sir, what is the actual name of the reaction, right? This is an electrophilic addition reaction. Okay. The reaction which you are seeing, whenever you have a C double bond C, right? Whenever you go for a C double bond C, an addition reaction, say HH, HCl, HI, whatever, all these are electrophilic addition reactions. The rule which we use is Markovnikov's rule. The reaction is not called as Markovnikov reaction. But yeah, it is not Sandmeyer's, it is not Finkelstein, it is not free radical. Definitely it is Markovnikov. So the most fair answer we can give is C, right? But not the exact answer. Okay. Next, which compound is used as a cooling liquid in refrigerators?
Ammonia,
which one?
Sir.
Which one?
Ammonia, sir.
Ammonia. Okay, fine. Right. Next, which of the following is not true about glucose?
Sir, it's present in furanose form, sir. Option C.
Correct. It is present in pyranose form, right? Glucose is present in pyranose form. That is a 6-membered ring. That is also 6-membered ring. And in case of fructose, it is going to be furanose form. Okay. And obviously this is correct, right? It does not give 2,4 DNP. That is why we go for cyclic structures. Right? Does not give me 2,4 DNP test. Right? That is why we go for cyclic structures. Okay, fine. Next, which of the following will yield phenol? Okay, right. Now this is what? This is your Dow's process, people. What's happened? What is a nucleophilic substitution? So definitely you will get phenol here. So 1 is okay. NaOH. At 298 Kelvin, definitely not. 298 Kelvin is what? 25 degrees Celsius. Definitely it will not give phenol. Right. Oleum with NaOH.
So that means only C is the option, right? So since the others have 4, then.
Yeah, but how can they even give this? This reaction will come in Amin's chapter.
Sir, but it is there in that chapter, sir. Alcohols and
Phenol
phenol.
chapter is there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Then
That
it's
part
fine. Right?
is there.
I know first you understand that here. If I have amine, right? Now, if I go for NaNO2 plus HCl, okay, this one is going to form HNO2, nitrous acid. Okay, now this nitrous acid will convert aniline into this kind of structure, N2 plus Cl minus. These kind of structures are what are called as diazonium salts. Okay, now these diazonium salts, if you just add water and warm them, right, this entire thing gets hydrolyzed to form phenol. OH. Okay, so yeah, the most probable answer, as you said, would be C, 1, 2, and 3, because this I know is definitely not going to form. All the other options has three these things in them. So the correct option would be C, 1, 2, and 3. Right, oleum. Oh, okay, fine. Anyways, moving on. The source of hydrogen and palladium is an example of not
Gas
source,
in
solution,
solid.
solution of gas in solid, right? I know palladium is a solid, right? I know hydrogen is a gas, right? So gas in solid, option D is the answer. Okay, next. Which of the following will turn lead acetate paper black?
H2, sir.
Correct, right? So we please understand H2SO4 is acidic. Okay, lead acetate, if you check. Okay, now lead acetate is basic. Okay, so you can have an acid-base reaction. So this will be black in color. It will become, this will be colorless. And moment you form the product, you are going to form a black colored precipitate. Okay, right. Next, identify the compound Y. There is Y in this reaction. Again, you see that this is NaNO2 plus HCl. It is going to form HNO2, right? That will form the diazonium salt. Now, if you put CO2, Cl2, all I'm going to get is what? A chlorine where I had this N2 plus Cl minus. That's it. Very simple. Okay. So now only one chlorine. The option A is the correct answer. There's no two chlorine, no chlorine. No. The answer is option A. Very simple. Very, very simple. Okay. Next. What is the time? Okay. Which of the following conditions favors the existence of substance in solid state?
Low temperature, sir.
Yeah, definitely low temperature. Higher thermal energy means, okay, obviously, like at low temperature only solids will exist. Yes. Okay, most probable answer. High thermal energy means it can be gases. If it has very high energy, it will be moving here and there. So that will be gases. Okay, fine. Next. An organic compound containing oxygen, okay, contains oxygen. Upon oxidation, forms a carboxylic acid as the only product, right? And the molecular mass is increasing by 14 units. Okay. Now let us understand anything. Say, if I have RCH2OH, if I go for oxidation, it is forming RCOOH. Okay. Now this R is same. Okay, right. So the R is same. All I have to look at is what is happening here. If I calculate the molecular mass, it is increasing by 14 units, right? Okay, let me calculate the molecular mass. Carbon is 14, 3 hydrogens plus 3. 1 oxygen is how much? 16, right? So 14 plus 3, 17, 17 plus 16 is 33. Okay, now let us check for this. 1 carbon is 12, 2 oxygen atoms 32 plus 1 hydrogen is 12 plus 32 is 44. 44 plus 1 is 45. Correct? Okay. That is 44. 44 plus 1 is 45. Here it is 33. Now, how much is the increase?
So I think you put carbon as 14 in the first one.
Oh, okay. Correct.
Then it will be 14, correct? 31, 40.
Yeah, correct. So this would be 31. Right, and this is 45. Yeah, the difference is what? 14, right? Okay, so an alcohol getting converted into a carboxylic acid, you see that the difference is 45. I mean, difference is 14, the difference in molecular mass. So definitely it should have been a primary alcohol. Right? Now, secondary alcohol will get oxidized to only ketone, not a aldehyde, not a acid. Only primary alcohol can directly give me alcohol. Sorry, can give me an aldehyde or an acid. Okay, moving on. The total number of tetrahedral voids in face-centered cubic cell, how much?
8, sir.
8. That's it. If I have n atoms per unit cell, I will have n number of octahedral voids, 2n number of tetrahedral voids. So I know the number of atoms per unit cell in FCC is 4. So I will have 4 octahedral voids and 8 tetrahedral voids. Okay, this formula you can remember. It will be very useful in solving problems also. The correct answer is C, option 8. Okay, next. At equilibrium, the rate of dissolution of a solid solute, in a volatile liquid solvent is
equal to rate of crystallization, sir.
Yeah, we are talking about equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium means everything is going to become equal. Everything is in coming to an end. Right. So rate of dissolution is equal to the rate of crystallization. Right. So yeah, that I think we saw this in the solution. I think I only thought you, right? So it is equal to the rate of crystallization because we're talking about equilibrium. Okay. Right. Next, a black compound of manganese, MnO2, directly. Only compound with this black for manganese is MnO2. Reacts with halogen acid to give a greenish yellow gas. When the excess of gases reacts with NH3, an unstable trihalide is formed. In this process, the state of nitrogen changes from.
So the halogen acid is HCl, I think, so because HCl will only give greenish yellow gas.
Halogen acid is, if I take HF, okay, if I assume that the halogen acid, the black compound reacts with halogen acid, if I take it as HF.
But F, when liberated, does not give greenish yellow gas. It's chlorine gives green.
Chlorine only gets, correct. So it should be HCl, right? So basically, MnO2 plus HCl is going to give me Cl2 gas. Okay. Now this Cl2 gas is what is my greenish yellow gas. Okay. When excess of ammonia is added to this, right? A trihalide, we can understand, right? Trihalide would have been NCl3. All the H replaced by Cl. Right. In this process, the oxidation state of nitrogen changes from, you understand that the oxidation state is -3 here, here it is +3. That's the only difference. Okay. Because hydrogen is less electronegative, chlorine is more electronegative, so it will have a plus, right? So -3 to +3, C is the correct answer to this question. Okay. Very simple. Moving on. An organic compound X, okay, oxidized by K2Cr2O7. The product reacts with phenylhydrazine, does not answer silver mirror test. Okay, fine. All these questions are like, it should be like, these are a lot of things that involved from aldehydes, ketones, carboxylates, but still we'll try to understand. Compound X, okay, is acidified using K2Cr2O7. Okay. Now, K2Cr2O7 and the compound formed is answering phenylhydrazine. Don't worry about phenylhydrazine. Okay. Phenylhydrazine, generally this phenylhydrazine is nothing but 2,4 DNP test. Dinitrophenylhydrazine. D is dinitro, DN is dinitro, P is phenylhydrazine. Okay, I know it is given by any compound which is having C double bond. I mean, all ketones as well as aldehydes. Ketones or aldehydes. Okay, anything which have, both of them has C double bond O. So 2,4 DNP is given by both ketone as well as an aldehyde. Okay, but it does not answer a silver mirror test. That means, so what is silver mirror test? People, what is silver mirror test? What is silver mirror test? Okay, silver mirror test is nothing but your tolerance test. Right? Because I know what happens in tolerance, right? If I have an aldehyde, if I put tolerance, that is tolerance is ammoniacal silver nitrate. I'll represent it like this, Ag, NH3 twice plus. Okay. So when I have an aldehyde with a tolerance reagent, you are going to form RCOO minus plus Ag is going to get deposited. This is what is my silver mirror. Okay, fine. Now you understood what do you mean by tolerance test, silver mirror test, everything is same, right? The possible structure of X is, now please understand people, X is getting oxidized by K2Cr2O7, right? So it can either form aldehyde or a ketone, right? Now you understand that it does happen phenyl hydrazine, okay? That means there is an aldehyde or a ketone, but it does not answer silver mirror test, means it does not answer tolerance test. So definitely the compound which is oxidized should be a ketone. Right? Only then it will not answer tolerance, but it will answer phen 2, 4 DNP. Okay. So what kind of alcohols will give me ketones on oxidation, people? What kind of alcohols will give me ketones on oxidation? Why are you thinking so much? What kind of alcohols will give me ketone? Primary, secondary, tertiary?
Secondary alcohols, sir.
Thank you so much. Secondary alcohols on oxidation will give me a ketone. So it is right there in option A. CH3, CH, CH3, OH. Secondary alcohol. This is a primary alcohol. Definitely CH3C was not an answer. Right? CH3CH2OH is a primary alcohol, which cannot be the answer because it would have given an aldehyde or an acid. Okay. Only secondary will give ketone. So that is the correct answer. Okay. In cyclotrimetphosphoric acid molecule, again, this thing, right? Not there in the syllabus, phosphorus. Okay. Right. Next, glycogen. Glycogen is a branched chain polymer of alpha D glucose units in which the chain is formed between C1, C4 glycosidic linkage, whereas the branching occurs at C1, C6 glycosidic linkage. The structure of glycogen is what? People, answer me this.
I think it is deleted portion, sir, because amylopectin, amylose from starch.
Starch is omitted.
Yes, sir.
Starch
It's
is
omitted.
Okay, fine. So you please, if even though you don't know this, see glycogen. Right, glycogen is very similar to starch. Especially it is similar to amylose, which is having higher branch structures. I think it's amylopectin. Okay, that means it will have C1, C4 as well as C1, C6. Okay, anyways, the answer is amylopectin, but this don't worry about it. Okay. Although PF5, PCl5, PCBRB are known, the pentahalides or nitrogen, I think, have not been known. It is because phosphorus has lower electronegativity than nitrogen. Okay, first, is the option correct? Is the first one correct? Is it a true statement?
Yes, sir.
Does PF5 exist? Have you ever seen PF5? PCl5 we have seen. PBr5 we have seen. PF5 have you seen? Even I don't know. Let me check. Does PF5 exist? My savior Google will answer me. Right. Does
Right, should right, sir. Fluorine has a -5 oxidation state.
Why is PF5 not formed in phosphorus? Is the chemical compound PF5 a colorless gas? The chemical compound PF5 is one of the essential phosphorus. PF5 is a colorless toxic gas. That means PF5 exists, people. Okay. Okay. So definitely, as you told, the assertion is correct, right? PF5, PBr5, PCl5 is known. Okay, fine. The assertion is correct. The reason they are giving for this is because they're telling that phosphorus has low electronegativity than nitrogen. Is it because of that or something else?
Because of lack of d orbitals, sir.
It is because lack of d orbitals. Nitrogen cannot expand its octet. That means it can have maximum 8 electrons in the valence shell. But I have phosphorus to have d orbitals. They can involve more than 8 electrons in the valence shell. Right? So definitely A is correct. Right? That is, the assertion is correct, but the reason is wrong. Okay. Now, reason is wrong means it is not a correct explanation. Not a correct explanation to this. But phosphorus has lower electronegativity than nitrogen. That is true. Nitrogen is more electronegative than phosphorus is more electronegative than nitrogen, but that is not the correct explanation for the previous one. So both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation for A. So B is the correct answer to this question. Okay, next. Tertiary haloalkanes are more reactive than primary haloalkanes towards elimination reactions. The question itself is not correct. Okay. See, they have to mention, okay, elimination reaction, generally, it can have how you have substitution reaction. I have SN1 and SN2, right? For elimination also, I have E1 and E2. Okay. In E1, the order of reactivity is tertiary greater than secondary greater than primary. And E1, it is primary greater than secondary greater than tertiary. How you have in SN1 and SN2, the order of reactivity. So they have to mention this. Oh, they have, wait. Tertiary haloalkanes are more reactive than primary alkane. No. They have to mention this. Okay. Don't worry about this question. Okay. They have to mention whether it has E1 or E2, and both E1 and E2 are not there in your syllabus. So you cannot answer this question. Okay. Right. Next. DNA has a double helix structure. Yes, we know. Right. Fine. The two strands in DNA molecule are exactly similar. Okay. Fine. Even though I take it, can I consider them similar? One strand and another strand. Yeah, they are similar only, right? So because one helix, right? One helix will have a nucleotide, all nucleotides, right? The other one will also be all nucleotides. So they are similar. Okay. Now DNA forms a double helix structure, correct? The two strands in a DNA molecule are exactly similar. Okay. But is this the reason for the double helix? People, what is the reason for the double helix? I taught you something called as Watson-Crick base pairing.
Sir, hydrogen bonding.
Hydrogen bonding.
Between adenine and thymine.
Adenine thymine will have
Thymine and
cytosine will have the hydrogen bond. Yes, exactly. That is the hydrogen bonding we are talking about. Okay, because of that, there will be, say, for example, if this is one, there is another strand like this, you will have an interaction between, say, A and T, and say you can have an interaction between G and C, two different strands, right? So the reason is not because they are looking similar, because they are having hydrogen bond between them. Between one strand and a second strand, you are going to have hydrogen bonding, right? So again, both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation for A.
Sir, I have a doubt with the reason, sir.
A doubt with the reason. Okay, go on. What is the doubt?
So, we'll be saying that the two strands of DNA are complement to each other. Then how can we say they're exactly similar, sir?
Very good. Very, very good. Are you a biology student?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. This is where biology people are going to help me. Absolutely. I'm so sorry, people. This is not true. Okay, the two DNA strands are not exactly similar. What I'm trying to say is, as she said, they are complementary. That means, say, for example, there is one strand like, say, A, G, C, T, A, T, T, something I have I'm talking about the bases. Okay, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, all these things are there. This is one strand, say first strand or first helix. Okay, now, for me to form the double helix, right, I need to have hydrogen bonding. So in place of A in the second strand, I should have a T. Only then I can have a hydrogen bonding. In place of G, I should have a C. In place of C, I should have a G. In place of A, in place of T, I should have a. Again, T, G, A. Hope you understand how I'm making this. A and T, G and C, I'm just pairing it. Okay, so these two things are complementary to each other. Thank you. Can I know what's your name?
Meena, sir.
Meena. Okay, Meena. Thank you so much. Okay. So yeah, they are not exactly similar people. They should be complementary. Okay. So B is not the answer. A is true, but R is false. C is the correct answer. Thank you so much. Okay. Right. Good. Cl2 bleaches the articles permanently. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Why? Because it does it by?
Oxidation, sir.
Correct. We have already, in your quiz, if you can remember for P block, we had a question like this. Okay. Cl2 bleaches temporarily, permanently, but SO2 bleaches temporarily. Why? Because here it is oxidation. Here it does by oxidation, right? Whereas there it would be by reduction. And I know once the reduction product is formed, again it can be oxidized. So going back to the dirt again, right? So Cl2 is not a strong reducing agent, it's an oxidizing agent. So Again, A is true, but R is false. Yeah, R is false. Okay, next. Crystalline solids are anisotropic. Absolutely true. Because when I measure the physical properties in different directions, different values. Okay. Crystalline solids are not as closely packed as amorphous solids. Absolutely false. I know crystalline solids are more closely packed than amorphous solids. So again, A is true, R is false. Okay. Next, moving on. Which condition is not satisfied by ideal solution? Delta P mix is 0.
So what is delta P mix, sir?
The pressure, before pressure, after pressure need not be same, obviously, right? Because I know once you have ideal solution, once you have a liquid, okay, that will have some vapor pressure. Once you make the solution, it will be this thing, right? Increase or decreasing will happen, right? Delta H mix is okay. Delta V mix is okay. Delta S mix, enthalpy.
Entropy is 0, no, sir. It should not be equal to 0, no, sir.
Entropy.
Yeah, I think it would be 0. For example, okay, say I have water, right? So this is having some entropy S. Okay, now when I dissolve NaCl into water, right, definitely this would have changed to S1, right? Because I will have ions, different kinds of movements, randomness will vary. So definitely delta S mix cannot be 0. Okay, now delta P mix, ideal solution should be 0 because I write PA is equal to PA naught into XA. Or I will write, see, look at this. I have two solutions A and B. Okay, this will have a PA naught, this will have a PB naught. Okay, now when I mix them together, it is going to become PA and PB. Right, and I know how PA and PB are related to PA naught and PB naught. So definitely if you just take the overall sum, right, before mixing, after mixing, it will become 0. That's what they're telling by del P mix is 0. Okay, so which is not satisfied is del S mix is 0. Entropy cannot be 0 because you're adding some more thing. Definitely there'll be variations in the movements. Okay, next. Bromoethane, chloroethane, dibromoethane, 1-chloropropane, isopropyl chloride, chlorobutane are all
soluble in organic solvents.
Yeah, they are soluble. They are completely soluble or slightly soluble.
Completely, sir, because
polar,
sir. It's like dissolves. Like.
Okay, so they are completely soluble in organic solvents. Okay, and obviously they are completely soluble in water. No, this is the basis for Lucas test, if you can remember. Right, once the alkyl halide is formed, it is not going to be so dissolved in water. That is why you form turbidity, primary, secondary, and tertiary alcohols. After heating, just after adding, only after strong heating. Anyways, okay. Ketones are reduced to corresponding alcohols by catalytic hydrogenation to form quick. What is the answer?
Secondary
alcohols. Opposite. Right. Okay. Moving on. Interhalogen compounds. Okay. Whatever. Right. Next. The stability of interhalogen compounds follows the order. Now, all you have to understand is stability. Do you have interhalogen compounds in the syllabus?
Yes, sir, we have.
Okay, great. So stability is inversely proportional to the size difference. That means, say, if I have a ClF bond or if I have an IF bond, should we follow the size difference? Now look at this. A halogen with large size and low electronegativity reacts with an element of group 17 with small size and high electronegativity. Okay. Now, this is one thing you have to look for. The other thing, stability, is directly proportional to difference in electronegativity. Why? Because more difference in electronegativity, more ionic nature, and more ionic nature, more stability. Right? So, if I compare a ClF bond and IF bond, I would say an IF bond is more stable than ClF bond. But if I consider
what's the size difference between Cl and
size very small? These two are having.
So both will cancel out each other, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. This question I'll clarify. How are you going to go about this? Because you will have, say, smaller cation, smaller anion, more stable. right? And difference in electronegativity, yes, more polarity comes into the picture, more ionic nature and more stability will come. Let me clarify this. Okay, fine. Moving on to the next one. The correct match for the following: ICl2 minus. Okay, this is ICl2 minus is bent. How do we do this? Is very simple, right? Now ICl2 minus. Okay, now iodine has 7 valence electrons. Okay, iodine has 7 valence electrons. I'll put this minus also. Plus 1 becomes 8 valence electrons. Okay, now out of the 8 valence electrons, 2 chlorine atoms are there. So out of this, 2 electrons are involved in bonding. Okay, 2 electrons involved in bonding. So still 6 electrons are there. That means 3 lone pairs are there. Again, I repeat from first. 7 valence electrons in iodine, plus 1 becoming because of minus charge, totally 8 valence electrons. Okay, I have 2 chlorine atoms, single bonds. So each electron, 1 electron will go for 1 chlorine. So totally 2 chlorine atoms, 2 electrons. So 8 minus 2 remaining is 6 electrons. They will be definitely in the form of lone pairs. So 3 lone pairs. Now this is of the form AB2L3. 2 bonding atoms and 3 lone pairs. Okay. Now when you have AB5, I know the shape is PBD. PBD is trigonal bipyramidal like this. B, 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 and B. Okay, AB5, normal. Right. Now when you have lone pairs, now remember, in trigonal bipyramidal geometry, lone pair has to go to equatorial position. Please remember this. This one all we studied in 11th class, right? If you don't remember it now. Lone pair has to go to equatorial position. This is happening only in trigonal bipyramidal geometry. Okay, so you will put the lone pair. I have 3 lone pairs. All the 3 lone pairs will go to the equatorial position. Right, and all you have is just this B. Now forget that these 3 are there. All you have is just A, B, B. So what is the shape? So this is exactly like ICl2, right? I, Cl, Cl, all the others are lone pairs. Right? So forget that these are there. Check only this. What is the shape? What is the shape here? What is the shape here? A, B, B, all in a straight line. What is the shape?
Linear.
Linear, right? That's it. This is not correct. ICl2 minus is not bent. It is linear. Okay. ClF3 minus. ClF3 minus. Okay, we'll check. Okay. Say same way. Chlorine has 7 valence electrons. Minus charge plus 1 has 8 valence electrons. Okay. Out of that, 3 are involving in bonding. I think it's not ClF3 minus, it is ClF3. Okay. Right. So ClF3 means this plus 1 electron is not there. So chlorine has 7 valence electrons. Now out of that, 3 are involving in bonding. So there are 4 electrons left out. So 2 lone pairs. Hope you're all able to get this. Okay. So this is of the form AB3L2. Again, what? AB5. And that 2 are the lone pairs. Again, if you have AB5, I know trigonal bipyramidal geometry. This is how the geometry will look. Right? Now I have to account for 2 lone pairs. Right? So how will I account for it? Right? Now I have to put 2 lone pairs in the equatorial position. Okay. Now all the other things are B. Okay. Now what shape is this, people? What are you looking at here?
T-shaped. So.
Exactly. Right. So ClF3 would have been T-shaped. Okay. I think we have to spend some time. Once we get some time on Friday, till you have your board exam, we need to have 1 class for chemical bonding. Okay. Because I feel that you're really weak in this. Okay. Fine. BrF4 minus. Okay. BrF4 minus, we'll try to check. Okay, now bromine has 7 valence electrons plus 1 because of negative charge, 8 valence electrons, 4 are involved in bonding. So 4 electrons left out, that means 2 lone pairs. All right, now this is of the form what? AB4L2, right? 2 lone pairs and 4 bonding atoms. Okay, so now this is like similar to AB6. AB6 is octahedral. If you have AB6, obviously. Okay, so if you have AB6, octahedral will look like this. Okay, now I have to put two lone pairs here, right? I have to put two lone pairs in the opposite position. So if I have to put lone pairs, this is where I'll put the lone pairs. All the others are B. Okay, now forget that these two are there. If I consider only this, what is this? This is square, planar. Is it not? Forget that the lone pairs are there. This is going to be square, planar. Okay, what they are given here? Square, pyramidal. No. Okay, IF7 is yes. Pentagonal, bipyramidal. That's the correct one. IF7 will look like this. Okay, you draw a pentagon. Okay, right? And in all the pentagons corners, you put a F. Now done. Pentagon is done. Okay, now you put two pyramids, F and F. One at the top, one at the bottom. This is what is called as pentagonal bipyramidal, two pyramids. Okay, right? So the correct answer would be what? It would be IF7, which is having pentagonal bipyramidal. Okay, now they're asking if I have XA5, total number of bond pairs and lone pairs is what they are talking about. Right now, I can easily say it is 5 bond pairs because there are 5 bonds, right? X with A, X with A, X with A, 5 bonds like that will be there, right? How many lone pairs? No lone pairs, one lone pair. We'll try to understand, and they have to be more specific. Lone pairs in X is what we are looking at. Okay, lone pairs only in X because if you go to the central atom has, okay, they have mentioned it. Okay, central atom is X, right? Okay, now let me do this. Say, let me take the example of IF5, for example. Okay, now IF5 has 7 valence electrons. Iodine has 7 valence electrons. Obviously, it has 5 bond pairs. No doubt about it. Right? Obviously, 5 of them are involved in bonding. Obviously, fluorine. That is what is 5 bond pairs. What is remaining? 2 electrons are remaining. So, obviously, it is 1 lone pair. Okay, 2 electrons means 1 pair. So, only 1 lone pair is present. So, the correct answer would have been 5 bond pairs and 1 lone pair. So option C is the correct answer. Any other questions? No. Okay. So comparatively or compared to all the other part tests which you wrote, this is the easiest one. Except that I had some few mistakes here and there. But other than that, this is the easiest one which you can have. Okay. So what is the time? Okay. We have 5 more minutes. You can go take rest. Something in the chat? Okay. It exists. Thank you, Divesh Nanda. Okay. Fine, people. We'll stop right here. Thank you so much for joining. You were a wonderful crowd. Thank you so much. We'll meet again next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.